Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Millennial Smark, and I'm bringing you the slop, the whole slop, and nothing but the slop. We're 1 hour removed from, in my opinion, another dud of an episode. The March 26th episode, to be exact, of AEW Dynamite, and I'm just so frustrated right now. I'm so frustrated. I want them to do good. I promise you, for all the videos you see me going after AEW, I cannot stress enough, I want them to do good. I want them to thrive. I want the current wrestling fans to experience professional wrestling at a level that we've all experienced, all of us over the age of 30, 35, 40 years old. I want you guys to experience a legitimate television show that gives you something compelling within the universe of professional wrestling. And AEW, they just keep dropping the ball. Every damn week, they just keep dropping the ball. And it feels like no one outside of, literally everyone in the entire fucking universe understands this. It feels like you have AEW fans, you have journalists out there, you have people who are pushing this dog shit agenda in order to pretend as if what AEW has been doing over the past few years has actually been good. Never mind the metrics, never mind the numbers overall, never mind the actual reaction from some of their audience members, never mind their audience members falling, even their live attendance, just all of it is just falling apart, but they stick their hand in the sand like they're fucking ostriches, pretending as to not hear all the voices that surround them. So I thought to myself, let me give you guys a comprehensive list. Now, some of you may know this already. Some of you who follow this channel have heard me talk about these already in depth in other videos. But I'm going to give you a comprehensive list, in my opinion, of the 7 reasons as to why people can't stand AEW right now. 7 reasons why people don't like AEW. And more importantly, 7 reasons as to why no one respects AEW. You either take it or you leave it, but I'm going to talk about it anyways. So let's kick off the list with number 7. It's over-reliance on the WWE name. Whether you're talking about it from the perspective of shoot promos, whether you're talking about it from the perspective of some type of bullshit Tony Khan has gotten himself into from a backstage standpoint, whether you're talking about its entire identity being literally the obstacle of WWE without legitimately being an obstacle of WWE. The constant bringing in the superstars who got released, WWE's sloppy seconds, for an example, being brought in legitimately just to pop a number for that week without any consequences whatsoever for what that superstar could be doing in the future. I can go on and on and on and on when it comes to the constant needing of WWE to keep yourself afloat. They have no name recognition whatsoever outside of the fact that they're the guys who happen to be second behind WWE. It feels like no one ever talks about this more or as extensively as they should be talking about it, because I feel it's a bit of a double standard. Whether we talk about WCW in the past and how Eric Bischoff played with a billionaire's money in order to bring in some people to be marks for them, whether you talk about TNA wrestling with Dixie Carter and her doing the exact same thing, it feels like that same sentiment never gets thrown around too much when talking about Tony Khan. Now, you might hear and here or there. I feel like it was more of a broader topic when discussing it about 2 or 3 years ago, when it obviously started to become more overbloated, right? But I feel as if today that talking point is thrown completely out of the window because, I don't know, maybe people don't talk about AEW as much as they should talk about AEW. That has more to do with the product in itself. As I said before, we'll talk about more of that stuff throughout the rest of the video. But that specific point is something that I feel like, and that's why it's number 7 on the list, it's not really harped on enough, especially when it comes to the identity of the AEW. What does AEW stand for? And I'm not talking about the initials, I'm talking about what do they legitimately stand for when it comes to the principles. What do they legitimately stand for as far as goal-oriented, as far as where their company is going to go in the future? Is it legitimately just taking off or siphoning all the old WWE names to keep yourself afloat? Is it really just using them as a message in order to get over whatever you're trying to get over as far as that product that night? Whether again it happens to deal with the metrics, if it happens to deal with some type of promo because you want it to feel edgy enough so people can go ooh and ah. It feels like almost everything they do when having to rely on the name of WWE gives me very living check by check, paycheck to paycheck vibes, if you understand what I'm saying, right? Like you have no creative bone in your body, so you rely on the WWE brand in order to get people to talk, outside of the fact that you have superstars who are legitimately in the ring that they might not even recognize their name unless you actually follow the product, but you damn sure recognize the names that come out of their mouths. Does no one see that as a problem? Does no one see that as something that seems really, really weak? Does no one see that as nothing more than, I don't know, in any other, say, medium, for an example, people will call that clout chasing, right? If you use it indirectly, that has nothing to do with you as far as the product is considered. Some people may even reference it as clickbait to a certain degree, right? But no. We're supposed to sit back and just love wrestling, enjoy wrestling. Guys, this is a great thing. We're having dream matches currently at the moment. Oh, yeah. Yeah, great dream matches. Oh, yeah. Like that Edge and John Moxley match that everybody was asking for, right? Oh, yeah. Yeah, so many dream matches. And when you actually do get somewhat of a sentiment in regards to a dream match, like say for an example, an MJF and a CM Punk, they do everything, at least from what I can see, they do everything under the sun to undercut it until you get to like the very, 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 very last moments of the actual portion of the feud in itself. And then, there you go, right? Get what you want out of it, right? We're going to give you a bunch of filler and then you get what you want when it's all said and done. But don't worry, because even within the midst of actually having the WWE guy there, we're going to still mention WWE because that's where he's from. Goddamn, I remember seeing people back in the days bashing ECW, for an example, when the fans used to go EC-dub, and never talk about the fans or the wrestlers in the ring. But again, when AEW does it in real time and they legitimately rely on it, no one ever bats an eye to it, right? Number 6 is the politics. And hey, who knows? For most people, maybe they care so deeply about politics that it doesn't really affect them if they happen to be on that side of the spectrum. But I can tell you, for most people, even if they are on the left, for an example, even if they are self-identified progressives or socialists or whatever the case may be, right? I can tell you that most people come to a wrestling product or any other medium or any other entertainment to get away from shit like that. The last thing I need is for you to interject your politics into what I like. I try to get away from politics. Politics has completely overtaken pop culture at the moment. The last thing I need is for you to bring it into this little section of pop culture that I thought got away from it a very, very long time ago. And that's the negative portion of it, right? The positive portion of it is that you can legitimately use the politics in order to get certain characters over, but you're too much of a chicken shit to even do that. You're, let's say, what's the word I'm looking for? Superpowered, right? You're Superman enough, like you're feeling strong enough. Oh, you got all the strength in the world to use it whenever you're trying to paint a narrative, whenever you're trying to push something, because you want people in that you want the adulation from the people to legitimately praise you for doing this thing for this cause. You're okay with that, but whenever you have to use it in professional wrestling, you get, oh no, it's off limits at that point, right? You see, you have your superstars such as Nyla Rose and Sunny Kiss going out there doing whatever they want to do, right? Knowing people good and damn well could be uncomfortable with it, but hey, live with it, right? Because that's a certain spectrum's type of ideology when it comes to politics, and that happens to be what dominates our audience currently at the moment, right? Yeah, people like CM Punk going out there talking about transing the kids, and Kenny Omega doing the exact same thing, and then you have somebody like Paige going out there and talking about abortions are good and all this other kind of stuff, which, fine, you want to do it within a storyline means, at least then I know who to boo and I know who to cheer. But when you just blatantly throw it out there, when you use it as a crux and your superstar use it as a crux in the most uncomfortable fashion in order to put it within your professional wrestling, when it has no means and it has literally no credence to lend to any of the superstars as far as their characters are considered, as far as the stories are considered, then why do you keep doing it? Why is Nyla Rose in the women's division? Now, granted, and gratefully, by the way, you don't see that much of Nyla Rose on television nowadays, thank God. But, like I said, it could be a good thing. Nyla Rose being a transgender person could be a good thing. You can use it. You can use it to your advantage in order to help get them over or whatever. But you don't even want to use it to that extent. No, you really want people to believe that Nyla Rose is a woman. Let them go inside the ring and do whatever the hell they want to do. It's so stupid. And like I said, it goes to the extent of also constantly talking about racism from your superstars who have podiums that you don't have the balls to tell to shut the fuck up because you might be afraid they might call you racist. Constantly doing divisive shit like this is what I hate about AEW also. And don't get it twisted, I'm not going to pretend as if WWE doesn't tip their toes inside the pool sometimes also, but I can damn sure tell you it's not as much embedded within their identity as it is with AEW. And if you don't believe me, go check out the promo from CM Punk. Actually, there's a bunch of things with CM Punk in AEW where he has done shit like this. Go look at Kenny Omega, and don't get it twisted, it comes from my side also. You can look at the Young Bucks and their tweets and stuff like that. You can look at Paige. You can look at a bunch of people when it comes to this political bullshit that they keep using in order to try to get AEW over with a specific, dare I say, elected few within their fan base, because, well, they're dumbasses and they believe dividing the crowd for what is typically popular on social media is the right thing to do. I don't know, but it's really fucking annoying, and it damn sure makes this list, in my opinion. Number 5, it feels like, in my opinion, there's more cool things happening backstage, and I can tell you, as a person who has built his channel up on this, it feels like there's more cool things happening backstage. The fights, the shit talking, the constant drama, all that stuff. It feels like there's more cool stuff happening backstage that we hear from the dirt sheets, from the so-called journalists, as they like to call themselves, writers. It feels like we're finding more and more compelling stuff happening backstage with AEW than we ever actually do with the product that's on television. Does anyone see that as somewhat concerning? Does anyone ever see that as, wow, that's very, 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 very strange? That the actual what would you say, cooks in the kitchen, right? Like the making of the sausage. The making of the sausage is more compelling than the actual eating of the sausage. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine wanting to purchase anything related to the making of the sausage versus actually purchasing the sausage in itself and eating it? Well, that's AEW for you. That's the ass backwards company that we're dealing with right now. Where you have people like CM Punk and the Elite Boys going at it, and they get so much heat for themselves that stands the test of time for your identity in regards to your company, to the degree that that's just not me saying it, to the degree that you have people like Tony Khan who goes out of his way to put it on television in order to get, and by the way, succeed at milking some of his latter stages in regards to the numbers that, hey, newsflash, by the way, we would have probably picked that about 2 years ago. Remember, the last time they got 800,000 was showing CM Punk on TV, backstage, Wembley Stadium. Tony Khan jumping on television to make it a point to talk about because he needs the fans to know the extent of what happened backstage with CM Punk. You know, this stuff, and don't get it twisted, we all know, we're not stupid. Obviously, any medium you will talk about as far as entertainment is considered, anytime there's actually some things happening under the hood, it gets people more interested. But it feels like with AEW, that for the most part is their coincided entire identity, along with all the other negative stuff that makes AEW what it is. Not to mention, if for nothing else, people typically talk about the under the hood stuff for any other entertainment because they became engaged from initially watching the entertainment, right? Right. Like they seen the brand, they seen the product, and they said to themselves, oh, that's actually really cool. I'm going to get myself invested into all this. And then a few months or a few years later, they became so invested that all the things that happened, you know, behind the scenes, they were very interested in, because who are these, who are the actors playing the character, if you will, right? But when the entire aesthetic in regards to that is your entire identity as a company, yeah, that's a huge problem. When your entire identity stems from a journalist, quote unquote, like a Dave Meltzer, being able to be your machine to give us more stuff in regards to what we're engaging with outside of, say, the kayfabe stuff, because your kayfabe stuff is so fucking boring, don't you feel that's at least a tad bit of a problem? Does anyone at least see that and say to themselves, yeah, that could be a bit of a problem? That the stuff that we should be valuing, we see as being, well, put to the side because who fucking cares? But the stuff that for the most part is inconsequential in the grand scheme of things because it doesn't affect you or your personal life, well, That should probably be the entire crux as to why we want to watch more of the programming. And it's not to say that they shouldn't take advantage of that. I still say that the CM Punk and Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks stuff, they should have taken advantage of. They didn't. So they instead have another fight. And then we talk more about that. And then you fire the person. So now, what? What, you didn't take advantage of them from a kayfabe standpoint like they did the Montreal Screwjob with WWE? You failed at that aspect. And now people are talking more about this real life stuff that is taking place than the actual stuff that you could have taken advantage of and made kayfabe and made money with, and therefore we would have at least blurred the lines. But no. No. They don't do stuff like that. Instead, they bring up the problem. We focus on the problem. They don't solve the problem. And then the problem grows, and then it eventually ends, and then we start the new cycle all over again for the next problem. Am I right or am I wrong? Number 4, and I'm pretty sure some people will actually look at this and they'll probably say to themselves, Devontae, number 4 should probably be your number 1. Slow your roll. Because, yeah, you can probably say this right here directly impacts your viewership. This right here directly this impacts how you are entertained by the product in itself. But I feel like there are more consequential things that if it weren't for these things, maybe the matches themselves wouldn't stand out so much, right? But the matches are terrible. The constant usage of blood. The sticking of the middle fingers that everybody does because everybody's fucking edgy and no one can even differentiate themselves to be creative enough not to be edgy outside of the middle finger spot. The flying around the ring and taking spots that were typically finishers. And I'm not talking about no fucking DDT. I'm talking about tombstone power drivers. I'm talking about F5s. I'm talking about RKOs done as transitional moves. Those kind of things. Everything underneath the sun that you could typically do as some bullshit indie show that you're taking and now putting on television and telling people to fucking digest. That kind of stuff. Using your matches, using the blood, using the gymnastics, using the edgy tunt and all that other bullshit to get around the fact that you yourself can't tell anything compelling in regards to a story. So this is your way out so no one can question you about how fucking garbage your company is. Because hey, look, we have the greatest matches currently going on in the product today. Dave Meltzer is giving us 5 stars for even the littlest of things, right? Like we could probably do a roll up and probably get a 5-star out of that if we really want to, right? Of course the matches are, it's so crucial. Like I said, I can see why people would probably put it as their number 1, but I feel there are more underlining problems that goes beyond past the matches. But to believe that the matches don't have a direct impact on how you enjoy the product, as far as how you will ingest the product, as far as how you engage the product, of course. How many times do you have to see Jon Moxley bleed before you get the fucking point? How many times do you have to see something happening for the sake of happening with no story attached to it? Like, for an example, Orange Cassidy and Matt Taven having a random ass fucking stupid Texas death match because they can do it without even talking about the initial feud that's currently going on at the moment that's going to be sold for the pay-per-view. And then you main event it. Of course it makes no sense. It's literally used as an excuse to get around the fact that you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Doesn't even feel special anymore. The matches are so bad that the stories and the feuds in WWE don't even feel as if they're hitting their point because AEW already did it and they did it worse. It's like a guy having sex with a girl and he gives her every STD and the girl finally gives you a chance. Do I really want to fuck the girl? I don't give a shit how bad you are. You have STDs now. Like, why the hell would I want to stick my dick anywhere near you? No matter how fucking fat your ass is, no matter how great your dick sucking skills is, you have a disease. You were fucked by somebody else. Why the fuck would I want to fuck you no matter how bad you are? That's AEW when it comes to WWE. Why the hell would I want to do a match like this knowing good and damn well you just did a match like this and you literally fucked it up for everybody? a Texas death match on a random episode of Dynamite with a fucking jobber of one half of a tag team when you're about to have a fucking one-on-one match at a pay-per-view. So therefore, when WWE actually does something special that the feud legitimately warrants, it doesn't feel nearly as special because AEW just did it 2 times on an episode of fucking Collision and 1 more time on an episode of fucking Rampage. Dick 'em dead. I am dead asses. They will have no disqualification matches, then a street fight match, then a steel cage match, then a ladder match, then a fucking cut my balls off match, and then they expect WWE to go out there and put out a Hell in a Cell match with Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. That should be unquestionably the best match of the fucking decade with everything that's attached to it. But of course, because, dipshit Swerve and dumb fuck Hangman had to go out there and stab each other in the fucking jaw with needles and shit, hopefully used, the matches that actually should matter don't fucking matter. Of course, a fucking plague on professional wrestling. It's AEW and its dumb, stupid fucking way as to how they structure the matches. Whether it's the blood, whether it's the gymnastics, whether it's over excessively using moves that typically would signify something of a pop to get a superstar over, they take it, they balled it up, they throw it away, and they have a nerve to show some new fucking paper that don't have nearly as much of a design that I need in order to get over what I need to get over as far as writing. There's no punch holes to put inside a binder, there's no lines dividing it, no, none of that. But you take my original paper that had all that and you throw it the fuck away because tradition and change and deal with it, you dumb fucks. As I said, there are more pressing issues that go well beyond just the matches. The booking, which I can tell you, if the booking was straight, it will make the matches way more palatable than what they would typically be. What do I mean by that? Let me give you an example. The reason why I'm even recording this video to begin with is because of my frustration of tonight's Dynamite. What happened on tonight's Dynamite? Thank you for skipping over the intro. I love you too, your mom. The main event: Megan Bayne, Penelope Ford versus Toni Storm and Thunder Rosa. Now, for some of you who are probably watching this video a few years down the road, God willing, you're probably asking yourself right now, what the fuck was going on during that time for that to be the main event? Well, nothing. That's the answer. Nothing. It was done, most likely, because you have Toni Storm there. And at the time, if you're watching this video in the future, she was over. Arguably the most over woman in professional wrestling. For sure the most over woman in AEW, either her or Mercedes. You put her in that match to have an excuse to make that the main event. Because you didn't want to main event your actual stars. Now, Toni is a star, but on the totem pole of stars, she's probably the lowest. Therefore, she's easier to sacrifice. You don't want to put out Jon Moxley or Edge or Swerve Strickland or MJF or any of those guys. You don't want to put them in the spot for the main event because, well, typically viewership numbers fall off. Now, obviously the correct approach would be to maybe have something compelling happening throughout the show and the climaxes in the main event. Typically, yes, that's how most shows typically navigate. But now you're following me as to why this is number 3. You're following me as to why I'm talking about the booking in the number 3 spots. Look up and down AEW's card, and you tell me, please, oh please, tell me what makes sense about any of the booking that goes on within that programming. The World Championship feels like a mid-card world title. And it's not even just a situation like WWE where you put it on a superstar, but unfortunately there's another superstar who happens to be more over. Think Triple H and Shawn Michaels while they were feuding with each other, and Chris Benoit was the World Heavyweight Championship. Well, was the World Heavyweight Champion. Yeah, you can make an obvious argument then why would you put the World Championship with Benoit? Yeah, I totally agree. The problem is with AEW, they tend to put the World Championship even on superstars who happen to be more over than whatever's main eventing at that point in time. And yeah, see, that's the problem. It doesn't matter. they don't care. They don't look at the superstars in that way because everybody has to be on par as far as popularity is considered. Will Ospreay is about as fucking over as a Swerve Strickland, who's about as over as a Hangman Adam Page, who's about as over as a Kenny Omega, who's about as over as a MJF. Everybody has to have that one specific talent that gets them over, and we beat that into the fucking ground, and we make sure that they're all positioned correctly to be the exact same in regards to popularity. Therefore, no matter who wins the World Championship, it just makes them slightly even more better. So therefore, that belt can babysit the world champion while we ourselves can actually put something a little bit more compelling happening throughout the week. Why? Because the world champion is the world champion, and therefore that's enough to carry whatever story or carry whatever credibility in regards to whatever feud is going on at the moment. Never mind the fact that your world champion is mid-carding on every fucking episode of Dynamite. Sometimes they might not even be shown. As a matter of fact, when looking at the Dick Rider storyline, we have not seen the World Heavyweight Championship for over 3 months, and we still have no explanation as to why. You may accept the bullshit answer as to what Jon Moxley gave you, but we have no legitimate reason as to why. At least why that feels us a little bit more accepting as to why this is occurring at the moment. But it's not just that also. You have women matches legitimately taking up 20 minutes, like random women. I mean, fuck, we had a match with Princess Anamata, or whatever her fucking name is, Queen Anamatapita, whatever the fuck her name is, and Mercedes Moné that went like fucking 20 minutes. Why? Because you take one half of jobber tag teams from fucking ROH and put them in there with your main event superstars, knowing what the conclusion is going to be, but they have to wrestle 25 minutes. Why? Because angles. What the fuck is that? Kurt Angle? What the fuck are you talking about? Finishes? Roll up. World Heavyweight Champion? Mid-carded for the next 4 weeks, and we'll give it the main event position on the pay-per-view because that's typically how tradition goes. Rhyme and Reason? Fuck is that? What are you talking about? Rhyme and Reason? Is that a hip-hop duo? What the fuck are you talking about? That's the consequences of the booking when fucking with AEW. That's the consequences. The flow of their shows make no sense. The priorities of the superstars make no sense. The reasoning as to why this is occurring makes no fucking sense. Why is this mid-carding? Why is this main eventing? Why is this going 25 minutes? Where are the angles? Where are the actual promos that are structured to get superstars over? Where are the vignettes? Where are any of this? Why does your World Heavyweight Champion only show up one time for about 20 minutes in the middle of the card, but they're never main eventing? Why is there no structure, a A to B plot line that's happening throughout the night? Because AEW. That's why. And that's why it's number 3. That's what I mean about the underlying problems outside of the matches. Because what you see, as far as matches are considered, that's what you see. But underneath the hood, there are so many more problems where if these things legitimately actually came off right, the matches wouldn't be half as bad as they come off. But when these things are as fucked up as the matches happen to be, then it's just double fuckery. Number 2, and I was actually hesitant to put this at number 2 because you can make a strong argument that this is number 1, but I got one more thing that I feel is the worst possible thing that has ever happened to this company and why they're in the position that they're in right now where no one fucking respects them outside of their sickos. But number 2, you can make a strong argument optically that this is number 1. Nothing feels special. Nothing. The presentation is absolute dog shit. The superstars all weighing 60 pounds. And some people may say to themselves, Devontae, what's with the actual look of the superstars? Why does that matter to you? Should just the talent matter in its own way? See, that's where you're fucking wrong, and that's where the presentation comes into, because we've been seeing these types of wrestlers, the flippy dippy fucking wrestlers, for way over a decade. One may even argue a decade and a half. After a point in time, you want something different, something of substance. There's a bit of a division. See, one of the things that I feel like subconsciously people never talk about as far as what happened back in the days of professional wrestling, as far as the structure when dealing with the presentation, was the fact that there was a clear divide optically as far as, well, not even optically, aesthetically, as far as looking at the superstars, right? There was a clear divide. The main eventers, you locate, you see them, you say to yourself, oh, those are the guys. The mid-card acts, they had a certain look about them. Yeah. Certain way they carried themselves. Yeah. I understand why. The lower card guys, the cruiserweights, they all subconsciously gave you some sort of priority or pecking order, right? Hierarchy, if you will. Structure. Lacking of structure. Nothing feels special in this company when you have that thing that everybody is, and you can tell where the double standard comes into play, right? Because what I want is more diversity within how things are structured, but more diversity to an extent, right? Obviously, you want the superstars to be credible as far as what positions they happen to be in at the moment, but if they happen to be credible in that position, then do some diversity within that. But more importantly, focus on the fact that what you're currently doing right now at the moment, like professional wrestling, is all macho. It has a machoistic image about it, and typically people who watch it are men who like to watch, guys beat up each other. Too bad it's simulated, and that's probably why half of them went to, UFC. But I can tell you right now, when you actually play into the macho, the machismo of most men who watch professional wrestling, you bring them back. It's not just to the extent of the superstars and seeing them and saying to yourselves, I could beat the fuck out of that guy, but it's also looking at the women and saying to yourselves, why aren't they half naked? Why aren't we seeing more half naked women on television? Where's the badass rock music, huh? Now, granted, you can argue that this goes over the WWE also. Don't get it twisted, but last time I checked, one company is set in their ways and the other company calls themselves the alternative, so shut the fuck up and bear with me for a second. Where's the naked women? Where's the badass music? Where's any of this stuff? You call yourselves the alternative, but I don't see anything alternative about you. Looks like you're too much of a pussy and too afraid, and it feels like you were going down that road when you were doing stuff like that with Mina Shirakawa and Mariah May, when you used to have hot lesbian action. Where's that stuff, man? Where's the actual big tough guys like Will Hobbs and Wardlow and all those guys to actually be in the main event scene? You have a little bit more diversity within that range. Also, where is all that? Feels like you only call yourself alternative in name alone. There's nothing different. Nothing feels special about this company. I talked about already how all their matches look like. It's the same shit every other fucking week. The same exact shit. I talked about already how their superstars look. I told you how their matches typically go. Flying in blood. Swearing and fucking sticking middle fingers and being edgy. Nothing at all. Cohesiveness as far as storylines are considered? No. There's no point A to point B. I told you, linear storytelling to that company is fucking like, what would you say, like a rat to a rat trap, you know what I mean? Like, they are completely allergic to telling stories. And you may say to yourself, Devontae, they tell stories. Oh, sorry. Let me reiterate that. Stories that actually have meaning. Oh, Devontae, let me reiterate that also. Stories that have meaning to, people who are normal. I remember watching WWE and seeing the pay-per-views coming on, right? And I remember, and this is something that they need to do, but they don't do it, and they're never going to do it. Certain things such as the two old people. Remember, like, it could have been, the 1930s and the 1940s wrestling in the beginning of the video, and how it transitioned to showing you Vince McMahon Sr. and how it went down the road of showing you what WWE was as it built up to its current time at that moment. And then it highlighted the scratch WWE logo. Jim Ross's voice playing before it went directly into the Monday Night Raw intro of the night, or SmackDown intro of the night. WWE and the Attitude Era, remember? Yeah, that was terrible, but you get what I mean, right? Stuff like that before it transitions into a vignette, a promo package, or whatever the case may be. Fireworks go off if you hear a kick-ass theme song, and you go directly into the main event picture, setting up for the night. Instead, with AEW, everybody die, it's Saturday night, smashing all the pies, cream pies Mike. Feel the boom, and my asshole, dynamite. And then we go into some cruiserweight fuck finish intro. It's bullshit. It's trash. It's horrible. It's passe. It was passe the second week of 2019. That kind of shit does hit home for most people. People do like to use the presentation in order to engage with the product that night. Do you know how fucking hyped it was to watch Monday Night Raw, Raw's War, back in 1999 or in 2000? To see the intro? To see the fireworks going off? To see the crowd with all the signs? To know that it's going to kick off the night with Triple H explaining why he attacked Jim Ross? To see The Rock and the millions and millions of people? To see Stone Cold Steve Austin come out and smash a couple of beer cans together and fucking drink all that shit? To see The Undertaker coming out on his motorcycle? But instead, we get Kenny Omega teaming up with Will Ospreay to take on Konosuke Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher, with no story attached to it outside of the background stuff, because they're not going to go throughout the night to at least give you something to worry about. The presentation is horrible, and if you made that number one, I completely understand why. But for me, I got something that's a hell of a lot worse. The number one reason as to why no one respects AEW. The number one reason as to why people see AEW and they think to themselves, this is nothing more than a bullshit company where their owner has a bunch of toys that he happens to be able to afford, and he actually trains to be humans, and he puts out there and he holds onto his remote control backstage in gorilla position while looking at the television and pretending that he's actually playing a video game. The number one reason as to why no one has any respect for AEW. The excuses and the propaganda. What more can I say? When you have people like Dave Meltzer going around telling you that you're standing in water while he's pissing on your feet, it's a problem. When you have the fans of AEW threatening you, calling you all these kinds of names, horrible fucking names, that's a problem. When you have the boss saying that he doesn't want you to watch his show, that his product was made for the sickos. When you brand yourself as where professional wrestling is professional wrestling, and if you don't like us, you're not a fan of professional wrestling, that's a problem. When you brand yourself as the end all be all for professional wrestling, well, that's a problem. The constant agenda pushing in AEW to ignore all their many faults, to take people to task as far as how they carry themselves, when they know when they were in WWE, for an example, they were over for a completely different reason. And then they come to a different product with no filter because Tony Khan is there literally just to smile and suck your dick. You get to show the fuck out and do literally everything that alienated your WWE audience, because that's not you. And there's nothing wrong with being different, but I gotta believe that the core aesthetic that you're trying to put across has to be linked somehow to your former WWE ties. And the people who are following in your footsteps, you would think that they would probably try to follow you in your footsteps overall and do the things that are correct, but it feels like you want to do your own thing, and you want to be just as stupid as the people who currently wrestle on that roster that got that company in the position that it's currently in. I'm looking at you, Edge. Looking at you, Adam Copeland. Looking at you, Cope. But like I said, the wrestlers are going to do what they want to do. The wrestlers are going to say what they want to say. My problem, for me though, is when you inevitably fuck up, and inevitably everything that you put forward that you thought was going to be good ends up hitting you back in the face. And the realization starts to hit you like a Mack truck directly in the balls. I suck. I fucking suck. I need the machine to help me. I'm not The Rock. I'm not Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm not Hulk Hogan in his prime. I'm not John Cena in his prime. I'm generic wrestler A without the machine. But I'm going to keep putting across this facade as if what I'm doing is correct. And you know what? All my underlings, all the people who love to hate WWE more than they love AEW, they're going to tell me that I'm doing a great job. Not just the fans, of course not. I got Dave Meltzer bringing up the history of professional wrestling to show you why what he's saying is correct. I got Dave Meltzer manipulating numbers to tell you why what you just seen was actually very good to everybody. I got Dave Meltzer bending backwards to spread the narrative as to why Tony Khan is one of the greatest promoters of all time, one of the greatest bookers of all time. He has had more 5 matches based off of my opinion than any promoter that has ever existed. To the extent that I have to, push more of a narrative. I need them to have 7 stars. See where I'm going with this? It becomes a point sometimes where it becomes propaganda. The excuses that you make for yourself, all it does is that it's holding you back. And like I said, unfortunately, you breed this pattern of behavior for other wrestling fans to see and then think to themselves that this is the correct way, when in reality we've gotten away from what the correct way was. Numbers don't lie, metrics don't lie, people do. People like Dave Meltzer, people like Sean Ross Sapp, people in their audience, people like the WrestleTech Bros, people in the bit commentary communities, they lie to you. How do I know they lie to you? Because they're used to eating shit right about now after being shoved down their throats for over 15 years. Let's go put on some stuff from the Attitude Era, bring it forward into the new day, and let's see how that gets over in current professional wrestling. The people who constantly come after you when you say something like, oh, look at that. Mina, whatever you want to call her, Shirakawa, and Mariah May, they look sexy as fuck. Nice titties. They're kissing each other and they call you a gooner or a pervert or any of that kind of stuff. Let's see how their attitude changes when you bring up, for an example, bra and penny matches, lingerie matches, happening with some of their favorite women wrestlers. Oh, it feels like that narrative changes a little bit out of nowhere all of a sudden, right? It feels like there's a bit of a double standard happening here when it comes to the Attitude Era versus what's happening currently here. It feels like you had your mind made up a little bit too early because you're a little bit jealous of what the fuck we had to go through about 20 years ago when we were actually having, that word fun, and you have to deal with this bullshit. Oh, the Attitude Era, it's the words. It's so overrated this. It's so overrated that. It's so overrated this. Let's see a woman get hit with a steel chair on her head by a guy in today's professional wrestling and watch everybody fucking cry or crash out or celebrate. But guess what? It will be talked about. And let it happen a few more times for the next couple of months. Let's see what the reaction is then. I guarantee you it's going to be, this is so fucking awesome. You see how they get when they see blood in AEW? That's the type of shit we're hearing right now. That's the excuses. That's the propaganda that we're hearing right now. Professional wrestling is the best that it's ever been. But if you take one quality out of the past and bring it up and then do it today, they lose their fucking minds. Whether positive or negative, they lose their fucking minds. It's almost as if what you're seeing right now evokes more emotion compared to the bullshit standards that you see today. So why constantly push that propaganda? Why constantly push that agenda? Why constantly make all these excuses as to why you're good when in reality we all know you suck. You know you suck. All the things that we talked about in this video from a top 7, at this point top 6 perspective, it's only pushed, it's only directed in that manner because of number one, the excuses being made by the wrestling journalists or writers or whatever the fuck they want to call themselves, the sickos who, again, they love WWE, they love to hate WWE more than they actually love AEW. Nothing reflects back on how positive AEW is. It's just lies and excuses and more agendas being pushed. And you know what happens? As a result, the consequences, your numbers fall and your live attendance falls. And you get reviews like mine every other week, constantly reflecting on it. Like now, for an example. I guarantee you I can't really give you a percentage, but I bet my life a good percentage of most of the bullshit that you see happen on AEW would just like that disappear if someone actually told Tony Khan the truth. Or, if for nothing else, this seems more impossible, but it would help, obviously, get him out of the position, or someone gives him some legitimate advice that he's willing to listen to that's not named Dave Meltzer. Tell them in the truth. Tell them in the truth and watch how everything changes just like that. But what do I know? I'm just a random guy sitting inside his apartment talking to his microphone. The fuck do I know? I guess I'll just keep talking to myself in this microphone and reflecting off of pretty much everything that you don't do that I listed here. And you keep doing all the things that I say don't do on this list and keep dropping in your numbers. It feels like it's a correlation happening at the moment, but you're not seeing it. I'm just the guy noting it. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below as to how you felt about the video. I mean, hey, some people are going to be offended. Don't know why. Make you sound like a psycho, but it's 2025. People get upset if you diss their favorite candy bar. So it wouldn't shock me. But like I said, I'm just a man with a microphone speaking the truth. Not his truth, that's gay. The truth. As always, my name is Millennial Mark, aka Devontae, and I'll be catching you guys later. Deuces, P. Ice.